in Ross 5.3, he talks about something called the conjunctive dagesh forte. And what I want you to do is to take your pencil and to the left of 5.3, just put an X next to it, and we're going to skip it. It's not really that important for baby Hebrew, so we're just going to move on to the next thing. All right? We really want to talk about 5.4. And this is mapik. Everybody say that with me. Mapik. Mapik. Have I piqued your curiosity yet? Mapik. So, we have a lot of words that begin with M in Hebrew that represent these initial things we're learning. We have methags, and we have mapiks, and we have makefs. Okay, so I want you to get these M words all straight. What is a mapik? It is a noun, yes. And a mapik actually represents a dot. So we have several dots in the Hebrew language that you've learned now. Okay, what are the dots? Well, we have dagesh lene, dagesh forte, and now a dot could also represent a mapik. Now, dagesh lene can go in what kind of letters? Begad kafat letters. Dagesh fortes can go in what kind of letters? All consonants except the guts gang. And mapik can only go in a final hey. Okay? A final hey. So if you see a dot inside of a hey at the end of a word, like over here in this word, can that be a dagesh forte? No, because dagesh fortes cannot occur in gutturals, and hey is a guttural, right? Hey is a guttural consonant. So if you see a dot in a hey, it can't be a dagesh forte. It's got to be a mapik. Now, if you see a dot in a hey, could it be a dagesh lene? No, because it's not a begad kafat letter. So anytime you see a dot in a hey, it can only be one thing. It can only be a mapik. Now, what is a mapik doing? Mapik does not really affect the pronunciation so much because we really have a hard time pronouncing a hey sound and H sound at the end of a syllable like this. So these two words are almost identical to each other. This hey is a mater hey, and this hey with the mapik is a consonant hey. So do you know what a mapik does? It tells you that the hey at the end of a word is a legitimate, bona fide, top drawer, blue ribbon consonant hey. Okay? So let's analyze this. How would I pronounce this first word on the left? Malka. Malka. Where would I divide my syllable here? After the L, because this is, as I see the Shiva, I look to the right, I see that's a short vowel, so the Shiva is silent, and so I'm going to divide right there. Malka. Now, if we were going to label the syllables, this one would be open or closed? Mal. Closed. Very good. I didn't have to say muy mal, which would be very bad in Spanish, right? So this is closed. And what about ka? That's open because I have a consonant and a comet's hey vowel. That's open. Over here I have malka. Now really, it's hard to tell the difference between these two, right? Malka. But that is a consonant hey. I divide here. Mal is closed and ka is closed because this is consonant, vowel, consonant. The hey is a closing consonant. Okay? So you see the difference between those two syllables. Now, does that mapik make a difference? Absolutely. This first word, malka, is a feminine noun that means queen. And this word with the mapik and the consonant hey at the end, this means, that's her, king. So queen is feminine, king is masculine, and that is the pronoun her king. Okay? So you want to make sure that you pay attention to your mapik. Everything Fine and dandy with that? Great. Now let's look at 5.5. 5.5, we're introduced to the article. In English, we have two sorts of articles. What we call the definite article, which we represent in English with the word the. And then we also have what are called indefinite articles, which we represent with a or an. So I have the apple in my hand. I'm referring to a specific apple. If I say I have an apple in my hand, I'm using the indefinite article there because for some reason in my mind, I may know exactly which apple it is, but I don't think you're aware, at least until I say it, which apple I'm talking about. So for you, this is sort of a new thing, right? I could say, once upon a time, there was a princess. I'm the storyteller, so I know the princess, but you don't know the princess. So I'm going to use the indefinite article. And then when I've introduced that princess to the story, there was a princess, I'll now start using the definite article. Now, the princess was beautiful, and so forth. Okay? So we have different articles in English. Hebrew does not have an indefinite article. Hebrew only has a definite article. And so when we talk about the way to say the in Hebrew, when we talk about the definite article, really you could just say the article because there's only one article in Hebrew and it's definite. Okay? So like I said earlier, if you come to a noun and there is no definite article, then you can put the indefinite article in front of it if in English that would be a good English, sounding way to put it. Like you wouldn't say a gold, right? You would just say gold. So there's where you wouldn't use the indefinite article in English. But if I just had ish, then I might translate that as a man as well as just man or mankind. Now, just the two words here that you'll want to know, not only for Hebrew, but if you ever learn Greek or other languages, are the words articular and anarthrous. Articular means that a noun or something that can take an article has one. So the man is articular. There's an article with it. Anarthrous means there's no article with it. So if I just have ish with no article, that's anarthrous. So those are some words you might want to learn. Now, how do we form the article in Hebrew? What it is it's going to be the letter hey with a pathak, which is a short a vowel under it, prefix to the word that I want to make definite, that I want to articulate. And inside the first consonant of that word that I'm attaching the prefix ha to, I'm going to put a dot. And I've written here that it's df, so that's the dagesh forte. Okay, so let's take a look at melech here. This is the word king, melech. I could translate this as king or a king. Now, by attaching the hey pathak doubling dot right before the mem of melech, and putting that doubling dot inside the mem, I've now made this definite. The king, ha-melech, ha-melech. Okay, so say that with me. Melech, a king, ha-melech, the king. The king. Now, remember, with this being a dagesh forte, if I have a dagesh forte in a letter, what's that dagesh forte doing to the consonant? It's doubling it. Yes, it's going to double that consonant's pronunciation. So, is my syllable, my first syllable, is it ha or is it hum? It's hum. And then the next syllable is meh. Hum, meh, lech. Okay? I have 3 syllables here. Remember how I divide a dagesh forte? I come down, like I'm going to cut this in half, but instead of going all the way through, I grab the dot and come back. That dot represents the first mem of the doubled melech, or the doubled mem. The mem I see is the second mem. And every time you see a dagesh forte, and after you divide, what can you always put here for labeling your syllables? Always closed. Because dagesh forte will always close one syllable and then begin a new syllable. Okay? So let's just practice here for just a moment. I've got two words that you maybe don't know. Maybe you've seen them. I have the word kol, which is voice or a voice. How would I make this say the voice? The voice, like this really cool show I've seen on TV. So you got to add a hey in front. Then what? Pathak. And then what? Dagesh forte's got to go right there, okay? So hakkol. Hakkol. Say that for me. Hakkol. So this is the voice. Here's the word for scroll, sefer. So everybody say that, sefer. Sefer. If you follow the book or the scroll, you'll be safer in your life, won't you? So, how would I say the scroll? Add the hey, add the pathak, add the dagesh forte. So it's has sefer. Has sefer. Okay? See how easy this is? How would I say the Moses? Ha Moshe. Good. How would I say the house? Ha bayit. Ha bayit. So basically just add ha in front of anything, but you've got to double the consonant of the noun, the first consonant. Before. So the article comes standard as hey, pathak under it, and then dagesh forte in the next consonant. So whatever the noun is, that first letter of the noun is gonna take the dagesh forte. Okay, so that dagesh forte is part of the article. It's not part of the normal noun because this noun wouldn't occur with a dot in the Samic unless it had the article in it or attached to the front. Okay. Now, I want to just tell you a little story about the article, and that is that when I want to add an article to a word along with an inseparable preposition, I'm going to have some really interesting things happen here. Okay, what are my inseparable prepositions? They're the letters bet, kaf, and lamed, and they are prefixed to a noun to create a prepositional phrase. So, let's say I have a word like this, b-kol. Okay, kol means voice. We saw that up here. B-kol is in a voice. The bet means in. How does the bet come vocalized? Well, it normally comes with a vocal shiva under the bet, right? Now, let's say I have the word the voice. So I have ha-kol. Okay, we just did this up here. Ha-kol. That's the voice. And then I want to add the inseparable preposition to that. This is what you would expect, right? B, in, ha, the, voice, kol. There's something interesting that happens here. And that is that these inseparable prepositions, I like to describe them as hungry letters. What do? Well, they're like horses. They like to eat hay. Okay? The article hay is going to get swallowed up by the inseparable preposition. What the preposition is going to do is it's going to see this hay and say, I eat lots of hay. And he's going to swallow up the hay. So the hay is going to go away. The bet is going to slide over and take the hay's place. The vocal shiva of the bet, or the kaf or the lamed, will go away, and the pathak and the doubling dot of the hay is going to remain. And so when you're all done with that, this is how it's going to look. B-ha-kol swallows the hay, becomes ba-kol. Ba-kol. Notice then that the bet no longer has the vocal shiva that it ought to have. What does it have? It has the article hay's pathak, and the kof, the first consonant of the noun, has the article hay's doubling dot, dagesh forte. Okay? And this is telling you that there's an article that's been swallowed up. You know how like when these bearded dragons eat something, their tongue shoots out, they grab a bug, and the bug shoots back into their mouth, but sometimes a little leg is dangling out of their mouth, right? This pathak doubling dot is like the leg of the article hey dangling out saying, I was here, I was here. Okay? So, bukol is in a voice, bakol in the voice. You see the difference between the two? All of these inseparable prepositions will do the same thing. Whenever they meet the article hey, they'll always swallow it and slide over and take its place. Now, let's go back over here and try to apply this to the word scroll, okay? So we had the word scroll over here before we attached the article. In fact, I didn't write down that now that we've attached the article here, this would be the scroll now, okay? Now, over here, I've attached the inseparable preposition bet to the word sefer, and I get b sefer. Remember that the preposition bet comes standard with a vocal shava under it, and that's what I should always expect to be there unless something makes it go away. So sefer, a scroll, b sefer, in a scroll. I have here sefer, scroll, ha sefer, with the dagesh forte in the samik, the scroll. Well, what if I want to say in the scroll? I would attach bet preposition with its vocal shava, but then remember inseparable prepositions like bet, kaf, and lamed, when they see hay, they want to eat it. Chomp, chomp. So what's going to happen here? Bet is going to swallow the hay. And then the bet is going to slide over and take the hay's place. Once the bet's taking the hay's place, it is going to then let go of the vocal shava it had, but its vowel pointing will now be the vowel pointing of the article hay. Pathak under it, dagesh forte inside of it. So now this will be translated in the scroll. Really important things to notice here. There is a difference then in vowel pointing between in a scroll and in the scroll. B, sefer, no dagesh forte, normal vocal shava. Bas, sefer, pathak doubling dot, no vocal shava there. Remember, the remnants of the article hay are dangling out of the mouth of the bet after it swallowed the hay, leaving the arms and legs in the form of a pathak and a doubling dot. So you should always be able to tell the difference between a preposition with the hay swallowed and with it not swallowed. Okay? Always remember the normal or standard vowel pointing for an inseparable preposition. Speaking of swallowing hay and eating hay, it reminds me of a story. Back when I was in high school, I took Spanish for, I think it ended up being 4 years. And my Spanish teacher, Mrs. Beatty, won a travel award to go and spend a summer in Costa Rica. And she took a plane from New Orleans. I think that was the international flight. So I grew up in Mississippi. And a bunch of Southerners were on this plane and flew into Costa Rica. And when they got to Costa Rica, they were coming off of the plane, and in the gate area, there were places to get food, and there was a little food place with a sign that read this in Spanish: "I sandwiches." I sandwiches. Now, in Spanish, the word "I" means there is or there are, and so what this sign was saying is there are sandwiches here, like sandwiches for sale. There are sandwiches. I sandwiches. This one guy walking next to my Spanish teacher was a Southern gentleman. He did not know Spanish. And so the only thing he saw was what he thought looked like hay sandwiches. And he was just shocked and looked at her and said, by golly, around here, they're all eating hay sandwiches. And so she got a good chuckle out of that. But it always made me, laugh. And when I realized, when I started learning Hebrew, that these inseparable prepositions are hungry letters and they like to swallow hay, I thought, well, shoot, there they are eating hay sandwiches all the time. The other little graphic I have here is just something to remind you that ordering of constituents or parts of words in Hebrew is not absolutely free in the sense that when you have a noun and you want to put an article on it, the article can't just go anywhere. It can't go at the back of the noun. The article has to go prefixed to the front of a noun. When you want to put a preposition there, you can't put the preposition after the article and before the noun. Prepositions are always prefixes and articles are always prefixes, but when you have both, they have to go in this order. Preposition first, and then the article, and then the noun. And so remember that the hay of the article, if we were to do it this way, Beth, hay, and then Melech, for example, the hay is going to fall out, but its vowel pointing and dagesh forte will come after the bet, right? Just as we saw here. The preposition first, the article's remnants next, and then the noun. So there is a kind of fixed order here. Now the last thing we want to talk about is the semantics of the article. When I use the word semantics, what I mean to say is the meaning. What is gained in terms of meaning by adding an article to a noun in Hebrew? What are the semantics of the article? Ross refers to this as the uses. I'm referring to it as the semantics, but let's just walk through these real quickly. Number one, the article can be used to specify or to determine the noun. So without the article, the word sus would mean horse. Okay? Sus would mean horse, as in a horse. On the other hand, if I take the article and add it before sus to form hasus, then that means the horse. The horse. So I am specifying a specific horse that I as the speaker and you as the listener are able to identify. It helps to identify a particular horse. So the next thing that the article can do is it can be used to create a demonstrative idea. Now, English has some demonstrative pronouns, like the words this and that. Those are demonstrative pronouns or demonstrative words in English. And in Hebrew, if I add the word ha to yom, you've learned yom is day. Ha yom could be translated in one of two ways. If the word if the ha is just specifying or determining the noun yom, day, then I would translate it as the day, as in, which day did your father go to war? And I would say, oh, well, that was the day that such and such happened. Pearl Harbor was bombed. There's another way to translate hayom, though, and that's where the ha might not be specifying or determining the noun in the way that it does hasus, but rather it may be introducing a demonstrative element. That is to say, it's pointing out a particular day here and now. So hayom could also be translated as this day. And this day means the day that we're living in, and you would translate that in English as today. So hayom could be the day or this day, meaning today. That's the demonstrative use. Now, number 3, you could see the article used with abstract nouns or collective nouns or mass nouns. And I ought to explain what I mean by these expressions. An abstract noun is a noun that refers to an abstract idea. I like to describe abstract nouns as things that you can't put in your pocket, although there's lots of concrete nouns that you can't put in your pocket either. But, I could put a rock in my pocket. That's a concrete noun. An abstract noun would be something like charity, love, hope. Those are not things that you can touch or feel, and they're certainly not things that you can put in your pocket, right? So an abstract noun. A collective noun is a noun that refers to something that consists of parts, but the word signifies the whole of the parts together. Words like team and country and company, those are collective nouns. And then a mass noun is a noun that indicates a quantity of something, but not a countable quantity. So mass nouns are distinguished from count nouns. For example, water. Water is a mass noun, and it refers to a quantity of liquid. I don't really take a mass noun and count it. I don't make it plural, for example. I don't say, hey, there's a lot of waters here, right? I don't say that. I say there's a lot of water. So that's a mass noun. Now, gold would be a mass noun versus being a count noun. I wouldn't say, there's 3 golds, right? I don't count gold. It's a mass. It's a quantity like that. So what's the point here? Why am I dealing with these sorts of nouns? Well, the point is simply that in Hebrew, frequently you might see an article with a noun that we would consider an abstract noun or a collective noun or a mass noun, where in English we might not use an article. So the word zahav is the word gold, and it can occur in Hebrew with the article hazahav. Hazahav. And in English, if I was just talking about gold generically, I may see the article here, but in English, I wouldn't really want to describe that as the gold, as in gold is good, right? I wouldn't say the gold is good. It would just be gold if I'm speaking of it in generic fashion like that. It's important to know that sometimes an article will be used in one language, and in the other language, the language that you're translating into, it might not make very good sense to use the article. Number 4, the article could have a vocative use. Now, you may have heard the word vocation. Vocation refers to calling, and vocatives in language are nouns that specify or identify who the addressee is, who you're calling to, as it were, or who you're speaking to. In English, we refer to these as nouns of direct address. So if I say something like, Charlie, give me your bicycle. Charlie is a noun of direct address, or we might refer to that as a vocative expression. And in Hebrew, when I have a noun with the article attached to it, then it could be an article used for a vocative notion. It could be an article used in other ways too. For example, number 1, the use of the article to specify or to determine a noun, that is the most frequent use. And so putting an asterisk here just so that you know, this is really pretty much the first thing you should think of when you see a noun with an article attached. So ha-melech could mean the king, use number 1, but there are some situations where ha-melech could be a vocative use of the article ha, and then that would be translated something like O king, as in, O king, live forever. The word king there is being used to name the addressee. O king, you, I'm talking to you, O king. O king, live forever. So those are the main semantics functions of the article in Hebrew.